Hi and welcome to the channel. If we haven't met before, I'm Michael, and today we're just going to take some time to show you our garden space and the backyard and touch on some of the projects that we'll have to do this spring and summer in preparation to eventually sell our house and move on from Alaska. In front of us we have 4 raised beds, 2 4x8 beds and 2 4x6 beds. They're Vego beds, V-E-G-O. We put them in, I guess this will be our 3rd season, and they've been excellent. We also have some others over here. We have 3 2x8 beds and 1 48-inch round bed. Usually in the 48-inch round bed we have strawberries. In the first 2x8 bed is usually peas and beans. The second 2x8 bed is carrots. And last year in the 3rd 2x8 bed I grew fava beans and these bitter greens. They're in the dandelion family but have a beautiful like maroon veining on them, and they were fantastic even at a large size. We also have a small 6x8 nylon plasticky greenhouse where I grow my peppers, and you'll see lots of pots and grow bags over in this area also. Prior to getting the raised beds, we would have in between 100 and 150 pots and grow bags scattered about growing produce and flowers. So upgrading to the raised beds has been extremely helpful. We still grow some things, mostly flowers, in the pots, and we'll be keeping some of those pots to grow dahlias in and put out in the front of our house and our tiny house. The others we will donate. Last year we donated approximately 50 grow bags and pots to folks who wanted to grow their own produce and with the soil in them, so people were able just to pick them up, mend the soil, and start growing. On the other side of the 4 raised beds we have 2 apple trees, one Norland and one Honeycrisp. Just put those in a couple of years ago and haven't really gotten out a large number of fruit off them yet, but they appear to be doing pretty well. And then against the fence we have raspberry canes that really produced well last year, and hopefully they'll do the same thing again this year. We have a large lilac in the corner and lilacs running along the fence towards that end of the yard. As you can see, we have a deck, and that's one of the projects that needs to be refinished this year. The shed also needs to be repainted, and the fence behind me needs to be restained. Another project at the end of last summer had to rebuild the gates over between the tiny house and our main home. Those also need to be restained front and back. Last year we had the far section of the yard towards the shed hydro seeded. Where I'm standing you really can't tell, but there's wood chips we started to put down at the end of the season. So there's a steel border in the ground that kind of curves around in this direction towards the end of the far bed, and this is wood chips in this garden area, and then there's lawn outside the garden area. You can see over here we have some seed pods from native flowers. There's a little island that's kind of like a wildflower patch right there, and a couple of bushes which I don't know the name of, but they produce beautiful small pink flowers, which you'll see later in the season. Another project back here is cutting down the septic pipes to a lower level. When the septic system was put in recently, they wound up leaving the pipes, some of them extremely tall, and we would like to change that. As I said, there's the deck, and we will have to refinish that this year. Replaced a few boards last year, at the end of last year, and added steps to this side of the deck. We have some lighting up because the winters are long here, and that kind of lights our dog's area when we let her out in the winter. Here are the lilacs I mentioned when I was down the other end of the yard. Those stacked logs underneath are mushroom totems. They were inoculated with oyster mushroom spore and have been producing for about 3 years now. Usually get a good flush. I think last year I ended up with about 9 pounds of mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, off of those logs. So look forward to getting those again this year, hopefully in the fall. This whole corner behind the shed will need to be cleaned out. That is just a wild compost pile, and without being turned and having the chance for aeration, it really hasn't done anything. So gonna need to pack all that up. And when we bought the house, there was a bunch of firewood back in the corner and behind the shed that you can't see from this angle. The firewood has been there for at least 5 years since we purchased the home, so, and many years before from what it looked like. In this area, I don't know if you could see, but there's some gravel where the lawn ends. There's gravel here for the pass-through garage door and the man door area, and down the side of the house to the gate. And the barrier, weed barrier underneath that gravel has failed, so probably the biggest and most time-consuming project will be removing that gravel, laying new weed barrier, getting new gravel delivered, and wheelbarrowing it from the front of the house to the back and spreading it in place to improve that area also. I mentioned painting the shed this summer, but I'm also going to re-roof the shed, just the shingles here. The other side is kind of like greenhouse material, so that was changed last year because there were serious leaks. I didn't have the time to do the shingles, so I'll have to pull this edge, do the shingles, and then reattach the greenhouse style plastic for that side of the roof that you can't see. There's quite a few things to do this summer besides the garden, but we have a decent amount of gardening space, and like I said earlier, if I need to, I can always plant in some pots or grow bags also. In the large beds here, usually it's mainly brassicas. I grow some fennel, and I put herbs in between. I usually have a full bed of onions, and last year did really well. Probably got about 125 onions, 3 to 4 inches in diameter, in different varieties. We grow cabbages and broccoli and a number of other of the brassica family, lettuce, multiple different lettuces, arugula. We'll take you along with that. Actually, I'm going to plant some seeds a little later today, and we'll probably bring you along for that too, to give you an idea of what you'll see in the garden come a little later this summer. Thank you for joining us.